When simplifying an exponential expression, we use the rules of exponents to make sure that each base appears only once, there are no negative exponents, and all numerical factors are multiplied out. Mathematically speaking, there is nothing wrong with negative exponents. So when simplifying exponential expressions, we use Rule 3, the negative exponent rule, to change negative exponents only at the end. Let's illustrate this with the examples on page 50. Simplify the following exponential expressions. Question 1. 3a squared b to the negative 1 to the power 3 times a to the 4th times b. First, we consider this power 3. This is the power of a product, so the rule says that we have to distribute the power. We take each factor to the power 3. 3 to the power 3 is 27. For a to the power 2 to the power 3 and b to the negative 1 to the power 3, we use the power of a power. The power rule tells us that we have to multiply the exponents. So we get 27a to the power 2 times 3, b to the power negative 1 times 3, a to the 4th b. We simplify. Now we combine a to the 6th and a to the 4th and b to the negative 3 times b. We use the product rule for this. The product rule says that we have to add the exponents. So a to the 6th times a to the 4th becomes a to the 6th plus 4. B to the negative 3 times b becomes negative b to the negative 3 plus 1. We simplify and we get 27 a to the 10 b to the negative 2. Now we finally use the negative exponent rule to rewrite b to the negative 2 as 1 over b squared. And here is our final answer. Question 2. Using our rules, we first actually find out that we have to multiply these fractions. We multiply fractions by multiplying the numerators and the denominators. Now we can simplify a little bit. 3 times 2 over 4 times 5. And then we have x to the negative 2 times y cubed over y to the negative 5 times x to the 7. We can combine these factors by using the quotient rule. X to the negative 2 over x to the 7. Quotient rule says we have to subtract the exponents. Similar for y to the power 3 over y to the negative 5, we have to subtract the exponents. So we get 3 times 2 over 4 times 5 times x to the negative 2 minus 7 times y to the 3 minus negative 5. We simplify. I want to point out, to simplify 3 times 2 over 4 times 5, first simplify the 2 and the 4. It becomes 1 and 2. And now we can easily see that 3 times 1 over 2 times 5 is 3 over 10. We use the negative exponent rule to rewrite x to the negative 9 as 1 over x to the 9, and so here is our final answer. Question 3. We use the rules for exponents. First thing to note is that c to the power 0 is 1. Next we have to raise that negative 6 times d cubed to the power 2. Power of a product tells us that we have to distribute the power 2 and take each factor to the power 2. So we get negative 6 to the power 2, d to the power 3 to the power 2. We simplify a little bit. Negative 6 to the power 2 is 36. For d to the power 3 to the power 2, we use the power rule, which says that we have to multiply the exponents. So we get 2c to the 4th d to the 5th times 36 times d to the 3 times 2 over 4 times c to the 5th d to the 9. We simplify. we get all the numericals by themselves. 2 times 36 over 4 times c to the 4th, d to the 5th, d to the 6th, c to the 5th, d to the 9th. We can simplify 2 times 36 over 4. 36 over 4 becomes 9 over 1. So that numerical part will be 2 times 9 over 1, which is 18. For c to the 4th over c to the 5, we use the quotient rule, which tells us that we have to subtract the exponents. For d to the 5th, d to the 6th, and d over d to the 9th, we use the product rule and the quotient rule. We have to add the 5 and the 6, and then subtract the 9. Now we simplify, and we find 18c to the negative 1d squared. Now we finally use the negative exponent rule to rewrite c to the negative 1 as 1 over c, and here is our final answer. Question 4. We use the rules for exponents. Let's first simplify the expression inside the parentheses. So there we have a to the negative 2 over a. We use the quotient rule to simplify that by subtracting the exponents. Similar for b over b to the negative 3 and c to the 4th over c to the negative 2. And here is what we get. Now we simplify these exponents, and we are down to 4 over 3 times a to the negative 3 times b to the 4 times c to the 6th, raised to the power negative 2. We are taking the power of a product of a quotient, so the power rule applies, which tells the power of a product or a quotient rule applies, which tells that we have to take each factor to the power negative 2. To evaluate 4 to the negative 2 over 3 to the negative 2, we use the negative exponent rule to rewrite it as 3 to the power 2 over 4 to the power 2. For a to the negative 3 to the power negative 2, we use the power rule, which tells us we have to multiply the exponents. Similar for b to the 4th to the negative 2 and c to the 6th to the negative 2. And we get this expression. Now we simplify. 3 squared over 4 squared is 9 over 16. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. So after simplifying, we find the following expression. Now we use the negative exponent rule to rewrite b to the negative 8 as 1 over b to the 8, and c to the negative 12 as 1 over c to the 12. And here is our final answer.